ございます。英国政府のビジネス通商省のホワイトと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。日本語を少ししか話せないものですから、これから英語で話させていただきます。So we'd like to extend a thanks to the organizers here and to everybody in Japan, but also to extend a welcome to the UK quantum technology ecosystem, not only to visitors here from Japan, but visitors from other countries here, from Korea, from North America. So we already have some collaborations with some of those countries, but we're here to extend those collaborations. And we have a group of companies here this week. Please feel free to attend the sessions. We have a brochure in Japanese. Please feel free to see myself or some of my colleagues. Louisa here, maybe you could say hello. So I'm going to introduce some information about the UK ecosystem, but feel free to contact us to seek more information, either questions or exchange business cards, or contact us by email. I have contact details at the end. So many of these slides have been kindly provided by UK Research and Innovation, in particular by the Challenge Director for Quantum Technologies, Roger McKinley, who unfortunately cannot be here, so I have to certainly say my thanks to him for kindly providing these slides. So what are we looking to achieve? This was published in a report in 2020, giving some expected timescales for certain technologies to become commercialized. And those fell into these four themes that we see on the left: computing, secure communications, sensing, timing, positioning and navigation technologies, positioning, navigation and timing, and imaging. And as a result of that, the UK program started in 2014 by establishing these four hubs in imaging, sensors and timing, computing and simulation, and communications. That was the starting point in 2014. And each of those hubs is not just one university, it's connected to many other universities and companies. And I just recently learned one of the requirements for those hubs when they were established, when they were bidding, was to tell UK Research and Innovation who else they would be collaborating with, not just what they would do on their own, but who else they would connect with to build this ecosystem. And as you can see from some of the numbers here of students, candidates, PhDs, apprenticeships, quantum companies, that ecosystem has been growing since 2014. And the first 5 years of that funding, from 2014 to 2019, the focus was in establishing the research facilities, proof of concepts in the laboratory, working with potential end users who brought in that demand. And then there was a second phase of funding from 2019 to 2024, where the emphasis was on commercializing that quantum technology, that science. So that funding over 10 years amounted to £1 billion of total funding. Half of that, approximately half of that from the government, half of that coming in from the private sector, funding those projects through industrial collaborations. So we see here commercializing the science, setting up those quantum technology hubs, and funding centers for doctoral training, CDTs, as well as this basic infrastructure, the NQCC, National Quantum Computing Center, and QMI, Quantum Metrology Institute. And the results of that, these numbers are actually out of date, but you can see some of the investment that's gone in, some of the companies that have been formed involved in collaborations and business-led projects. These numbers actually should be updated. I'm sorry I don't have the latest figures. But one of those figures there, 390 million private investment, that is now over 500 million pounds of private investment in the UK quantum sector. And you can see here how some of the fields into which that has gone, with components, imaging, sensing and timing, communications, and computing. And you see the enormous amount of private sector investment alongside the grants from iUK, from Innovate UK. Innovate UK is perhaps the equivalent of NEDO in Japan. In addition to that private sector, there's been a lot of venture capital investment that has been attracted by those companies. From these new companies that have been created, we've attracted major venture capital investment, including to some of the companies you'll see here this week. For example, this photo here, and on my first slide, is of a superconducting quantum computer by Oxford Quantum Circuits, who's received investment from University of Tokyo Edge Capital Partners, amongst others. And you see that investment is second only to the United States. But our ecosystem is geographically much smaller, so much easier to connect with. Some more figures here on the UK quantum tech startup scene. This is from 2022, so already these figures are out of date. And that venture capital, I think, is now about £500 million raised. This report is available from an organization, a consulting organization called Anchored In, so you can access that on the web. Some examples of some of the technologies. So we've talked a lot about quantum computing. I'd like to introduce a quantum sensing example. So this company, QLM Technology, they use a tuned LiDAR, tuned to the resonant frequency of methane, and shining and scanning that LiDAR, and then they receive back a weak signal which they detect by a single photon detector. So they can identify where there is methane leaking from gas plants, from liquid propane gas plants, which of course could be of interest to companies in Japan. And of course they've raised further funding and venture capital, and they work with oil companies such as Total. This is an example of an investor, perhaps better known as Cold Quanta, but recently their headquarters company is now known as Inflection. And they're working on position sensing, inertial sensing, quantum positioning, so that you do not need access to satellites. So that's important in situations where a foreign country may disrupt the GPS signal, and we're seeing that happening in the world now, or in submarines where you don't have access to the GPS signal. And you can see they collaborated with several organizations on that project, including an end user, BAE Systems. So all these projects now funded by Innovate UK, they combine an end user, some component suppliers, some technology developers, some technology enablers. So it's completely end-to-end collaboration, sharing the risk and also receiving funding from the UK government. And because you're working with an end user, when it's beyond the stage of funding for that project, you're ready to commercialize and expand. That's really important. Another example of a foreign company investing in the UK is Rigetti Computing, with their superconducting qubit quantum computer in the UK. And they're working here you see with Oxford Instruments, who provide the refrigerator on the supply side, but also with Standard Chartered Bank, a financial institution, as an end user, and University of Edinburgh, who are here today, and another company, Phasecraft. So again, across the supply chain. And the CEO of Rigetti has often said that of all the projects they're doing across the world, this is the one where there's the most closest engagement to an end user, nearest to practical application. Another application area I think is well known, Toshiba has been working for many years on quantum key distribution, starting in their Cambridge laboratory. And then they've extended that further to collaborations with BT, the communications company, from point to point. And then with the National Composite Center, a factory, where they wanted secure communication in a factory situation. And then most recently, a three-node network, working with BT and also EY, Ernst Young, the accountancy company. So once you can prove a three-node network can work, you can extend your network wider, and that has hubs that reach out to EY's customers. And most recently, I think when Prime Minister Sunak visited the UK, he announced a further investment by Toshiba in a new facility in the UK, to expansion of their work on quantum key distribution. We're very grateful for that investment, continued confidence in the UK by Toshiba. And here's an example, I'm not going to read through in detail, a project on quantum communications. And you can see at the top left, Toshiba, but you can see how large the ecosystem. We bring together different clusters of organizations, including end users, system integrators, on one project. So this is just one project that was funded by Innovate UK under their program for large-scale projects for commercializing quantum technologies. So I really want to emphasize commercializing. These projects in the UK, we started in 2014, so we've been progressing well beyond the research to commercializing this, miniaturizing, cost reduction, improving the reliability and performance of the components in these systems, and bringing in foreign direct investors. So we're very open to companies and researchers from other countries to get involved in these projects, to come to the UK, contact the Department for Business and Trade, and we can help make those initial introductions. So, as has been mentioned before, in March this year, we announced a further 10-year funding. So we've had an initial 10-year funding from 2014 to 2024. What happens after that? Now, the UK government, the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, has announced £2.5 billion investment for the next 10 years from 2024 to continuing to build that supply chain, and not just the research, but building the talent, the investment in the people. So that shows some of the areas that money is going in, but you see components there, not just industry, government, and research institutions, but the emphasis on skills. That's why the universities have two roles: projects for pushing the frontiers of research, but projects where we're training people, skilling people, training fellowships. And also funding for accelerating companies, supporting companies, and attracting companies from overseas into the UK. And in the short term, £250 million of that will be spent on these areas I'm listing here, specifically in quantum computing, position, navigation, and timing, in those research hubs, training, procurement by the UK government, and accelerating companies, and the National Quantum Computing Centre. which I'll talk about, and also funding for international partnerships. I'll introduce now a bit more about the National Computing Centre, and I have to thank Dr. Michael Cuthbert, Director of the National Quantum Computing Centre, for these slides. Again, unfortunately, he cannot be here. They're very active spending their money. Just like the UK Research and Innovation, they're too busy spending their money in the UK to spend on their own flights, which shows how serious they are about supporting and developing the UK ecosystem. So I'm out here to welcome you to that UK ecosystem. So this shows some of the strands of their work. They're building a center with targets to build 100+ qubit platform by 2025 with in-house development and collaborations with other companies. So this is an opportunity for companies to collaborate with the NQCC, National Quantum Computing Centre. They're building infrastructure to host that, and also maybe the opportunity to provide a soft landing or incubator space for companies that want to come to the UK to explore the UK market in collaborations, but they just need some office space and connect with people. And training the workforce in the UK, educating the people that will be supplying the technology and the people that will be using the technology, and connecting them. Tackling certain problems that are well known, but also helping companies access those opportunities that are particularly unique to the UK. The strengths in the UK pharmaceutical industry, which is worth £21 billion a year. The strengths in the UK financial sector, which has £132 billion turnover. There's a story I often remember from a venture capital company, Passion Capital, and their CEO, Eileen Burbidge. She often says that in North America, if you want to access the regulators, you need to go to Washington. If you want to access the finances, you need to go to New York. If you want to access the technology, you need to go to San Francisco, to Silicon Valley. In the UK, you can access all of those from London or within 1 hour of London. So finance, also in London, applications in finance, machine learning and cryptography, with over 1,480 cybersecurity companies in the UK, many of them working in the Japanese market already. So some of the work that the National Quantum Computer Centre has been doing, for example, in March, they held a conference on scalability, and that was oversubscribed. People wanted to attend, and we had to, unfortunately, tell them it was already full. We had many companies coming over from overseas with 24 speakers, not just UK organizations, but international organizations, leading in these 4 different mobilities of quantum computing: ion traps, superconducting, cold atoms, and photonics, and some of the enabling technologies behind that, and the benchmarking, which is so important. There'll be many more events that the National Quantum Computing Centre is organizing. So here you see, for example, their community building and engagement, and training and technical challenges. And on the 2nd of November this year, please make a note, we're organizing a National Quantum Technology Showcase. That has happened every year since 2014. But also we're organizing an inward mission to that. And we had visitors last year from Japan, Australia, and Canada, including Toshiba, Fujitsu, JIJ, Kunisys, Sumitomo Ventures. So, どうも、もしご興味があれば、もし質問があれば、
If you have any interest, please feel free contact me. Thank you very much for your kind attention.